sorry, go ahead. Did you have a question?
I was just saying hi, Thaddeus.
Hello, J.R.
So welcome, everyone, to our Writers' Hour. As you can already see, this part of what we try to do here is to connect other writers with other people in our community so that you guys can all help each other out. I say guys, but there are women who write for us, too, and there are usually women who show up for these calls, too. So I just mean guys in the generic. But one of the interesting things, and the reason I bring this up, is because I notice I connect with people on social media, for the 8 years now that Goodman Project has been going on. And people come and go in the community. Like there are a lot of people, Jed Diamond, for example, who's on this call, who was here with us on day one. But, and Jed's been like steady as they go in terms of contributing and being on the calls and awesome. Thaddeus also, I don't think you were here day one, but you've been here for many years on the calls, very involved. So it's awesome to have the people who are here for the long run. Then it's also awesome to have the brand new people. But one of the things I was going to mention today is the people who kind of come and go. Oh, actually, JR, you're in that camp. So JR,
I am.
You've been with us for a few years and then took maybe 5 years off and then has been back in full force since. So anyway, I connect with anyone who wants to connect with me on social media. And what I find interesting is the people who have been with us for a long time or the people who sort of come and go or have been with us and are now no longer with us. And what I see is fellow Goodman Project people helping other people out throughout the years. So I often see people who are working together on different projects, who are supporting people when they get books written, who are continuing to promote other Goodman Project people's posts, who continue to stay connected. So it's really interesting, the community that you develop here that helps you out for the long run. And so I would encourage anyone who's not doing that to really take advantage of it. And one of the best ways to make sure that you are helped by other people into the future is to help others. And I again, the people I know do this all the time. But, the more you can get out there and help others, the more they're going to help you, the more you're going to build these, like, insurance policies of social media help and support for the future, because you just never know when the right opportunity is going to come around. So the other sort of specific thing that I wanted to talk about was how Goodman Project promotes its posts, what you can expect in terms of readership. Like I want to sort of go over both numbers and ways you can leverage our platform to help your own platform. So in terms of numbers, Goodman Project gets about 3 million people a month. It's been pretty steady for about 4 or 5 years now. Sometimes it dips down a little closer to 2 million. Sometimes it pops up over 3 million a month. But it's in that ballpark. And the thing to understand is that these people come, first of all, from all over the world. Only about 60% of our readership is actually U.S.-based, so I find that very interesting. Mostly English-speaking countries, but lately we've had a flurry of activity from other countries who want to translate our work into the language where they live because they want to expose other people. So I got a request from someone to translate a post into Hungarian the other day, which I thought was kind of cool. And so we are an international audience. The second thing to know is that most of the content which gets the most traction is actually in the sex, love, and relationships category. So we, at the Good Men Project, we're really proud of our mission, which is to have a conversation about the changing roles of men in the 21st century and talk about those changing roles in a way that nobody else talks about. And so a lot of our topics touch on things like social justice, touch on things like racism and sexism and homophobia and the man box and the disposability of men. We talk about some heavy subjects like mental illness. We also talk about mental wellness, physical wellness. We talk about parenting. We really love to talk about the way fathers' roles are changing. But the truth is that the way that people, and especially men, as it turns out, get into those deeper conversations is they start out by reading sex, love, and relationships stories. They start out by reading 10 ways to get the girl of your dreams. So not only is it sex, love, and relationships, but it's from a heterocentrist point of view. And so that's not necessarily a stereotype we're proud of, but it is the reality of the world. And what we like to say is a lot of times men come for the sex, love, and relationships and then stay for the social justice. We've actually seen this over and over and over, especially as we start to form these communities of people who connect with each other by phone, right? It's that, they happened to see an article that resonated with them. It was about dating, so they started to read more on our site, and then they started to come for these calls, and then they started to get addicted to the calls, and so they come to all the calls, and then all of a sudden they're like, wow, you guys are connecting dots for me in ways that I've never been connected. So that's sort of how we set up. So now if we get into the nitty-gritty of promotion, and I sort of had to set it up that way so that you understand so that what I say next about promotion on the Good Men Project makes sense. So when we promote stories, we have a very small amount of resources here at the Good Men Project. Like, people think we have this big office that has teams of editors, and in fact we don't. We do have about 30 or so people who work for us from all over the country, but they all work part-time. Some of them only work a couple of hours a week. We don't have salaried staff at all. We have people who believe in the mission, get paid small amounts of money to help us realize that mission, and we don't have an office. We do have an office, but it's me sitting there in the office by myself, and so it's a very small staff. So what we do is we look for the posts that best exemplify our mission. So posts that literally in the title signal the fact that we're talking about the changing roles of men in the 21st century. And we put most of our effort into promoting those. The sex, love, and relationships posts sort of promote themselves. Like, we really don't have to do much work for those. And we found that people who write about that topic over and over already tend to have big platforms. So when a writer comes to us and they have a big platform, and we have a big platform, and those two platforms merge together, that's how posts get the most traction. So if you're looking for posts to really take off on the Goodman Project, I would suggest doing a couple, building your own platform, and your platform doesn't have to be big, it just has to be continually growing. That's sort of the key. It's like you have to get new people into your own circle, your own community, and it's those new people which will help get your posts out to other communities of people, other connections, and will really help you grow. Another is to make sure that your posts are either about sex, love, and relationships, or about clearly talk about the changing roles of men in the 21st century in the headline itself. Jed Diamond, who's on this call, has a bunch of, he writes about a lot of things. He writes about fatherhood, he writes about mental health, he writes about physical health, but it is his sex, love, and relationships posts that get literally millions of page views. Like his biggest hits, Jed, I don't know if you've looked at numbers recently, but it's well over 1 million page views for his biggest hits. But the other thing to understand, and this is something that I wanted to talk about, and then we'll open it up for questions because I'd love to just tell you what you really want to know, what questions you have. But the other thing to understand is that we're not a run and gun site. We're not a put something up, get it to be a viral hit, and that's it, and then you never see it again. We're not the kind of site where things get to those million page views overnight. We used to be when Facebook worked a different way, but we're not that anymore because that's not the reality of the world. But what we are, we have a very, very, very methodical process to get the best posts to be seen forever. And I don't usually say words like forever. The word we use here is in perpetuity. But we really actually mean that. That your post, like, in fact, one of the, I don't get a lot of complaints, right, about what we're doing here. I do get some, and one of the more common complaints is, hey, I wrote something for you 5 years ago, and now I have a different job. I'm trying to change my social media presence, and the post I wrote for Goodman Project 5 years ago keeps coming up in search like the number one thing that people search for. Is there any way we can stop that from happening? That's literally a complaint we get. Is there any way we can get this post that I wrote 5 years ago from popping up in search engines? So we really have a system that builds readership over time, that builds page views over time. So if you get one of those posts, the way it works is, if you get one of those posts that's either really on brand for us, or because of your own platform is doing well and gets over 300 shares. So if you look at the buttons on the posts, if you get something that gets over 300 shares, then we are going to put that into our promotional cycle, and that will get promoted for as long as we are in existence. As long as the Goodman Project is in existence, that post will continue to get promoted. So it's just really, I think that's like, if you take away anything from the call, it's that one thing. It's that we're in this to work with you for the long term. What you get out of it will be partly what you put into it. So if it's building community with other writers and people who come on these calls and making those relationships work for you, that's something that has been really successful for people. If it's building your readership and your authorship over time so that over the course of years you get millions of hits to your posts, that's another way of looking at it. If it's to understand the big picture connections of all of the topics that we talk about and the way those relate to the changing roles of men in the 21st century, that's something that we're doing. And by the way, with that, with the big picture, understanding the connections about why the changing roles of men in the 21st century are so important, we've been getting way more. Been getting approached by big media at a really astounding rate over the last the last 2 years, I'd say, since we started these phone calls. So just yesterday, I talked to someone from Comedy Central, of all places, who's shooting a documentary about men and tribalism, and they're not necessarily trying to make it a comedy. They're just having a host who's going to ask interesting questions and make it insightful in a way that's surprising. But like, I talked to this woman about what we're doing at the Goodman Project for well over an hour, and she was like, what you guys are doing is astounding. I didn't know this, but we'd love to, as we work on this show, we'd love to incorporate you in some way. I'm like, we're in. And so those kind of calls are happening all the time. So if you're looking for other types of media exposure, people who rise up and are articulate, and we're always looking for people who we can refer to for radio interviews, say. So, the people I know here who have been running these calls and who can talk about these issues really articulately would be great for those. So you'll be on the list. So that's the way these calls work is I only speak for 20 minutes, and I make sure I cut myself off at that so we can open it up for questions. So that's what I'm doing. I think someone else joined us while I was talking. Did someone else?
Yeah, it was Dave. I've got a 3:30 appointment. Hi, I've got a 3:30 appointment, so I just thought I'd click in for a little bit. I just saw your email.
Awesome.
Hey, you scared me. What do you mean when you say in perpetuity? I thought that's what they do when people die. They take care of the grave in perpetuity.
Oh, I hadn't heard that. No, we just mean that as long as we're in business, we will continue to get your posts out there, unless you tell us otherwise. I mean, now that the new privacy laws have come into effect in Europe, we do take it seriously when people tell us that they have privacy concerns. So I want to be clear about that too. This is only if you want it. We try to really work with people for what they want. So questions.
So what do we do if, say, we write about mental health and things like that and not sex, love, and relationships?
So I think the thing to know is to it's not to say don't write about those, not at all. I mean, Dave and I have been having this conversation by email for a while. So it's like in Dave's case, he has written about dating before, but it's not the only thing he writes about. But he does know from looking at his numbers that those posts are the ones that do the best. So in Dave's case, he writes a couple of articles about sex, love, and relationships. He's going to write more. But in the meantime, politics is very important to him, so he's been focusing on writing posts about politics. in the case of Jed Diamond, who's also on this call, it's sort of the same thing. Jed has a lot of topics he talks about. He just has a book that came out about the father wound, which is really an important piece of what we talk about. But his sex, love, and relationships posts that he's written over the years help drive people to his newer content, which is about other things. So you can do a few things, JR. You can write maybe it's a sex, love, and relationships post written from the point of view of someone who's struggling with mental illness, or in your case, autism. Maybe it's that you say, no, I don't even want to go near there, so I'm just going to keep writing about what I feel comfortable writing about, but I'm going to find other ways to build my platform. I'm going to connect with other groups of people who are doing this also. I'm going to get my work out there in different ways. I'm going to bring more writers. Here's something you could do is bring more writers into Good Men Project who are writing about the types of issues that you care about, because the more content we have about those areas, the more everyone's content gets seen. So that might be something you think of. The other thing is to be patient. I know it's difficult to say, well, you're not going to get the page views you want this week, but come back in a few years and check out your page views then. I get that that's kind of a difficult thing to want to do, but that's why I spend so much time talking about the way that we work. It's like, understand that it takes time. Like the sex, love, and relationships posts become hits faster, but it doesn't mean that they're the only ones that become hits. It doesn't mean that they're the only ones that get thousands or tens of thousands or even 1 million page views. Not by any stretch of the imagination.
Sure.
It just takes a little longer. Other questions?
I get that.
Well, let me make a comment. This is Jed Diamond, and I think everything that Lisa said has certainly been validated. In my case, I've been writing with the Good Men Project from the beginning, and have now and had then broad ranges of interests, including sex, love, and relationship, but a lot I write about mental health and politics and a whole range of things. And one, I've found just the whole process and sticking with the Good Men Project over a lot of years has paid off for me, not only in connections and fun and joy, but also, as Lisa says, in articles that I've written that continue to get promoted over and over again. And so some of those, I think, at least I don't know what my top reads were, but I know I wrote one article called the one thing that men want more than sex, and it had at least 2 million reads, and a number of them have gotten large reads, and then continue. I think the thing that I find the most helpful is just what Lisa's saying, that once you get an article that starts getting interest, it gets promoted over and over again, and that's rare. I write in a lot of different places, and most everybody just wants whatever's the latest thing and don't do much for promoting what's already out there. And Good Men Project does that really wonderfully. And just to validate another thing Lisa said is, I have an article, I can't remember the exact original title, but it had to do with anger and irritable males, and that's another topic. But in that, I offered a free ebook as a way to connect people. And I thought it would be, it would get read one week and I'd be given a free ebook out for the next week. But the article's been popular for a long time. And I wrote the original article 6 years ago, and I'm still getting requests for the free ebook, which is great. I get people responding continuously, which as a writer or somebody that's trying to make a mark in the world, you want readers to stay connected with you, and Good Men Project just really has a way of doing that that's worth putting in the time and, write. I just write what I want. I don't write what I think will necessarily be popular, but knowing how the things that you do like and do have a desire to write can be focused in a way that can command large readership and get promoted is really a gift for writers that want to have a larger audience and have more influence and be able to, basically connect with more people and hopefully do more good in the world.
Thank you, Jed. I love when people validate everything I've said. That's awesome. But the other thing I want to mention about Jed is that he's written, I think it's over 500 articles for us now, right? I mean, it's been almost once a week for. It was once a week for a long time, and then I can actually look it up while we're.
I write now once a week all the time now, and have for years. Didn't always do that. It just validates for me being consistent. I wasn't always consistent. I'd write, and then I'd get busy writing a book or doing other things. And I have 5 children and 17 grandchildren, so they take up a fair amount of time. In addition to so writing consistently, and like I say, writing once a week has been a real gift for my writing discipline, and certainly helps to keep my writing out in the Good Men Project world. And also, you didn't mention, but, the additional connections that Good Men Project has with other publications is I'm often republished by some of the, I don't know what you call them, affiliate publishers that you have reciprocal relationships with, and then get a whole nother readership to a whole nother group of readers from different publications.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. That is another way that people can help grow their platform by getting published and then getting republished on other publications. So I just looked up your stats, Jed. You have 289 posts with us. So, but that goes back to, the building things up over time. Like, not every one of those 289 posts is a hit, and that's fine. It's that a certain percentage of those will rise to the top, will continually get promoted. JR, I was just looking at your original question to me, and you had said you went back and looked at the share stats, and you had 3 posts that had between 250 and 1,000 shares.
Right.
So that's awesome. So those 3 posts, you can pretty much just know that they will continue getting promoted. And one thing that you might want to do is just send me and Wilhelm the links to those, just so we can double check that they are on the, they'll get there eventually, but if you want to send us the link to those 3 posts, then we'll be absolutely certain those are in the promotional cycle. And then what I would do, and then you said most were in the 30 and under range. So then what I would do is I would look at the ones that either are close to that but haven't gotten it, or the ones that are in the under 30 range that you think should have been hit, but for whatever reason didn't get the traction you think they deserve, and we can go ahead and promote those again also, and see if we can get those up to the next level. So,
well, I have done that, and I think a lot of it just is the topic, with the autism column, and I really think that's it, and I just need to do more of the sex-love relationship, more of the other stuff. We've just started the comic book column last week, so we'll see how that goes. But, I think it's just a matter of doing more in some of the categories that get more page views.
Yep. I think that's a great idea. And then I would also say I would encourage anyone to reach out and try to bring more writers into the Good Men Project who are writing about the topics that they care about. Because I do think that's a good way to build more interest for those topics and build more internal connections.
Okay.
So, for example, you're really great, JR, at finding guests for your ConvoCast on mental health. Maybe following up with some of those people and asking them if they have any content we can rerun on the Good Men Project so they can continue to get the word out about what they're doing. It can be things that have been published elsewhere as long as they have the rights to it. It might be something they want to write specifically about what they talked about on the call, whatever it is. But getting something published on the Good Men Project will help them get the word out about what they're doing.
Okay.
Any other questions? I know a couple people have to drop, but go ahead.
Lisa, one thing that might be nice is if, for the people that contribute on a regular basis, if we were able to get, Twitter accounts or, things like that for them so that we could follow each other, share some stuff from each other.
So that usually happens in the Facebook Writers Group. So I would suggest just starting a thread in the Facebook Writers Group that says, hey, I'm JR, I'm on Twitter here. I'd love to connect with other people on Twitter. Please put your Twitter handles in the comments. And then using that to connect with people that way.
I'm doing it now.
Great. Awesome. That's a great idea. Yeah, we love when people connect with each other on places like Twitter. That's awesome.
Yeah, because, I'd love to be able to see, say, Thaddeus or or Jed or somebody, as I'm on Twitter and see, a link to one of their posts and be able to share it.
Yep. No, that's great. So here's another hint for you, for everyone. So we have a list of the top 2,000 posts of all time on the Good Men Project, and those are ones that get continuously cycled out there. It's probably even more than 2,000 right now. But what's interesting is there's a certain word that is the first word in the titles of the most popular posts that it shows up way more than any other word as the very first word in a title of hit posts. And I doubt that you'll guess what that word is, but I'm trying to build a little suspense so that you can try to think of it. But the word is how. So posts that start with the words how to do anything, like somehow rise to a level of popularity quicker than any other words that you start a title with. Because people know what they're going to get. They know that they're going to get information on how to do something that they are interested in learning how to do.
Love it. Great idea.
And that can be for any topic. So let me just sort through our list, and I can read. Also, another thing that tends to be popular, and nobody wants to hear this, but is the lists of nine things to. Okay, so here are the list of posts that start with the word how, right? How Black Panther defines success for father. How boys will be boys damages everyone. How Can I Kiss You changed my life for the better. How a dad took a good look at his son's bad day and ended up in awe. How a straight man in a gay relationship made it work. How an epidemic of loneliness is killing the men we love. How being a father strengthened my happiness forever. How being too independent has helped keep you single. So you'll notice that even though I just started down this list in alphabetical order, and you'll notice that even though I said, well, sex, love, and relationship ones are the biggest hits, I had to get down to like 6 or 7 before I got to a straightforward sex, love, and relationships post, right? How can good parents effectively reduce fatherlessness? How can I be a man if ... How can men love women when we're taught to demean femininity? How can we co-create a non-sexist society? How can you live on your own when you can't move a muscle? How childhood trauma can wreck your relationship and what you can do to heal. That's from Jed Diamond, and that has like 15,000 shares. How confessing your crushes can strengthen your relationship. How could you ever love someone who hit you? How do I get my ex to leave me alone? How do I stop mistaking chemistry for true connection? I haven't looked at this list in a long time, but it's really kind of fascinating, huh? I mean, there's such a variety of topics in that how can. It's really interesting. How do the changing roles of masculinity affect your relationship? How do we care deeply for someone who's difficult to care for? How do you explain sexy to your kids? How eliminating ambiguity led to more sex with less stress. How emotionally strong people avoid giving into anxiety and stress. It's fascinating. How fathers can create a better bond with their children. How fear and shame are killing the modern man. How gender role rigidity holds us back from deeper love. How guys can avoid breaking a nice girl's heart. How has the word love changed now that you're a father? How I knew I was depressed. Oh, there you go. JR, there's a mental health one that has 5,000 shares.
There you go.
How I learned to be a better leader from my boss. How I learned to have good sex. How I told my 7-year-old that he has Down syndrome. How I turned my love around in one easy step. How instant gratification is ruining dating. So I'm only halfway through this list. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I literally there's still another. Oh my God! I'm still going down here. There's another 100 or so how-to. I'll go exactly to the how-tos now. How to court a good man. how to date and meet the one and not the one for right now, how to deal with someone you're just not interested in dating. So now we're getting into the sex, love, and relationships one. How to disarm the silent treatment, how to drive your partner away, how to ease into love when love terrifies you, how to finally get over your ex even when it seems impossible, how to fix your relationship without talking about it, how to get anyone to fall in love with you in theory, how to get unstuck in life, how to insult a man. Then there's like a whole bunch more how-tos. How to make a mass shooter. How to never run out.
We could have used that one last week, Lisa.
What's that?
We could have used that one last week. How to make a mass shooter.
Right, I know.
Where was that one?
That was written by Andrew Smiler, who's written on and off for us. It was first written... it says it's from April, but I think it was rerun again since then. So that's an example. I mean, that only has just over 1,000 shares, but still, it's on the list of things that's always relevant. How to prepare your son for an unkind world. How to raise our sons without toxic masculinity, how to rebuild self-esteem after divorcing a manipulator. Again, skipping over a bunch of them, but the list is still going on. How to tell her you love her, how to trust a man when you've been conditioned not to, how to understand shame and guilt, how to use your white cisgender male privilege for good, how understanding consent has made me more human, how to know your relationship is toxic. So I think that's really enlightening, don't you? I mean, was that helpful? Like, I feel like
very much so. And, it's something that I knew, but I forgot. I know the how-to posts and things like that are good, and I know that the posts with odd numbers, not like 10 things or 5 things. If you do 7, 6, 9, I know that those are things that you sometimes forget as you're putting things together. So it's nice to be reminded about it and make notes.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because I'm just going to look up the total number of our hit posts that start with the word how, and it is because I didn't even read all of these. It is 152 of our most popular posts start with the word how. So there you go. and you could see when I was reading the list, it wasn't even the majority that was necessarily sex, love, and relationships. So I think that's just a really good thing to know.
That is awesome.
Any other questions? I mean, this really is the chance for people to ask specific questions about how we can help you. No question is too specific. No question is too... This is the purpose of these calls. It's like anything you've been wanting to ask or, hoping we'd answer by email or anything, we're happy to answer here on these calls.
One thing I've just started doing is even going through spending a little bit of time a couple nights a week on Twitter just going to the Goodman Project and following some of the people that follow Goodman Project. Hoping for follows back.
Yes, that is actually
and try to interact with them too.
That's a really good tip. That's something we believe in very strongly. The other thing you can do is if you tweet something out and people interact with you, it's not just follow those people back, but follow their followers.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, so that's another good tip that we have found. Yeah, because at the Goodman Project, we get like a lot of, like we just got 26 new followers in the past 2 minutes.
Well,
so
that's part of the 193,000.
Yeah, exactly. So we do get a lot of new people following us too, and that's, I think, the important point is that it's when you get new people into your network that your network is going to be robust. It's that's the new people are the ones who get excited about you. The new people are the ones who become your evangelists. The new people are the ones who are like, wow, that person's saying something I've never heard before. I want more, you know.
Okay. So this is Andrew. This is my first call, and I just happened to get something posted just over the weekend, and it was really more personal of a thing, but I don't know if and I guess because I don't have any following or anything like that, I guess before I even think beyond that, is it just making submissions if we have something, and then we just kind of see from there?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So what's your last name, Andrew? Do you mind sharing it?
Sure. DeWitt from
DeWitt?
Pittsburgh. Yes, DeWitt.
DeWitt from Pittsburgh. Okay, great. So I will, after this call, I'll look up your post. I'll try to highlight it a little bit more. But I do think that's actually, so on these particular calls, this one just happened to be about promotion, where we try to cover a whole range of topics from, what to write about to how to write better. So, if you're just starting out, then I would definitely say, follow the advice of some of the people on these calls. Write about what you care about. Write about what's important to you. You can certainly worry about getting things that reach a lot of people just as you get in the practice of actually writing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I was telling the person who was interviewing me from Comedy Central about what we're doing is that often when people come in and start writing for us, they don't realize the amount of internal change and internal growth that they themselves go through just through the practice of writing. Like just being able to articulate some of these things that they've been thinking about for a long time but haven't really put into words. That's, like we like to say, that our posts change the writer and change the reader. They change both people. But I think when you're starting out, that's probably the best thing you can do is just continue to write and then see where that takes you, and then start by connecting with people one by one wherever you can, whether it's on these calls, whether it's, I don't know if you're on social media at all, but wherever you can connect with people, connect with them. Like that is really one of the beauties of the community that we're building, is that people are given multiple ways to connect with each other and help each other.
Okay.
You know, Lisa, with all you're talking about the sex 11 relationships, maybe I need to rejuvenate sex in the single dad, even though my daughter's 21 now.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, I think that's a great idea.
Although I did write a post yesterday that with the sex 11 relationship column, so we'll see how that goes.
Great. And again, I just go back to the, you know, it doesn't happen overnight. We're just not built that way. Like when you see, so basically what we've been reading is that Facebook used to help publishers get their work out there and get hits that went viral. And then there was publishing companies that took advantage of that and would have things go viral all the time. And so for whatever reason, Facebook didn't like that, probably because the publishers were making money and they weren't. So they've changed their algorithm to not show posts from publishers in the way that they used to show them. So now you have to pay, as a publisher, you have to pay to get those posts shown to a big audience. Mm-hmm. And what we've read is that publishers have had to pay 2.5 times as much as they used to pay. They had to pay 2.5 times as much in 2018 to get their posts on Facebook seen by the same amount of people. So if they were spending $1,000 a month, they had to now spend $2,500 a month. If they were spending $10,000 a month, which is what a lot of the big publications are paying, they now would have to spend $25,000 a month with Facebook to get the posts seen. So publishers have to be, they can't promote every post or they'll go out of business. They have to be really strategic about what they spend money on. And, you know, we would love nothing more than to just pay for promotion on the posts for the authors that we really care about who are writing on the topics that are really important to us. But if we did that, we would go out of business. So that's why we have to be careful about what we put resources into. But that's also why our community helping out and growing their platforms, bringing new writers in, writing about things that resonate, the more people help us with that, the more we're going to be able to help the authors grow as individuals as well.
Yeah, you know, and Lisa, and one thing for anybody who's still on the call that I recently found is that you will get, on Facebook, you will get more views if you put the link in the first comment rather than in the post like you used to do. And I learned that from somebody that it has something to do with the way Facebook changed their algorithm.
Interesting. So we still put the link in the when we promote. We haven't actually found that, but again, it, you know, Facebook not only changes their algorithm all the time, but it works a little differently for publishers than it does for what it sees as real people. So I think the point is to try different ways for different posts. Like, don't try to do everything for every post, but also don't expect any one thing to work. So, you know, sometimes put the link in the post, sometimes put it in the comment, sometimes, you know, do other things, create a meme and put memes on there. Like, it does take it does take experimenting until you can figure out what's the thing that's going to be time effective for you, that's going to be doing things that you care about, that's going to be connecting you with the people that you care about. And all of that takes a little bit of time and a little bit of thought. So we'll do as much as we can for you. You adding to that is going to be helpful for everyone, but we also don't want to force people to do things that either they don't care about or aren't effective for them.
Absolutely.
So is there any topic people would like to talk about next week or in the coming weeks? I mean, we have plenty of topics we can talk about, so I'm not afraid of running out of things, but just if there's something that someone wants to know in particular, I can put it on the calendar to talk about. Does anyone have any thoughts on the topic?
Maybe things like subheadings and lists and things like that we can put into our posts.
Okay.
Or bullet points.
That's a good idea.
Bullet points. I didn't mean lists. I meant bullet points.
Yep. So I think that's. I won't go into details now. We will save that for another topic. But I do think that's especially effective with the posts that are more like the how-to posts. And by the way, the how-to posts can still be very personal stories. Like a lot of times the way that people set up a how-to post is they'll tell something about themselves that's really personal and relatable, but then they'll put a list of like 3 bullet points in the second half of it, or 4 or 5 bullet points, or whatever it is. So I think there's a way to combine. When we say a how-to post, it doesn't have to be like, 10 facts. It can be something that's a little bit more of a story. It starts out a little bit more of a story, and then just gives specific insights or information in the second half. So yeah, we can go into detail more on that on another call, JR. Thanks. That's great.
Yeah. Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, because we're out of time, so we gotta wrap this up.
All right. Hey, thank you very much. I found this really helpful.
Great. Good. That was the goal. So thanks, everyone, for joining. Andrew, we hope to see you around the community or hop on any other call, and great to have you on board. And thanks, everyone else who joined. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care, Lisa. Bye. And Andrew, bye.
Okay. Take care. Bye.